If you want to be consistent with exercise for the rest of your life, it's important to fully understand and appreciate all of the benefits exercise brings you. Okay, to be more specific, when you first get started, one of the things you might want to do is not watch your progress in the mirror or the scale. We're all aware of how exercise affects the way that we look or weigh, and sometimes it gets in the way of all the other incredible benefits that exercise provides. When you get that full picture, you can then create a relationship with exercise that lasts the rest of your life.
Do you think you can get there before tackling like whatever the said goal was that got you to the gym?
Oh, I mean, can you? Yeah, likely, probably not.
Yeah, I don't. I've thought about this a lot. Like, part of I think what helped this process for me was actually reaching the physical goals, right? Like, and seeing how I felt, feeling that moment, and it's like, okay, it came and went. It's like, now what?
Yeah.
Had I not reached that, I wonder if I would still be chasing that and still feel like, but I've never felt this way, or I've never got it. And it's like, it's kind of like the same thing too with it. We've talked about this, comparing your like financial journey. Like when you come from nothing and you have this goal financially of like, if I just made, $1 million or whatever,
I'd be so happy.
I'd be so happy. Right. And I don't think any wise, even wise older version of me coming back in time and telling me like, that's not gonna, like, I don't think I listen. I think I have to go do it to feel it and recognize it myself. So do you think it's possible for somebody who's entering their journey of fitness, who's, insecure about being 40 pounds overweight and feels that they just got to get this weight off desperately or whatever, can you get them to shift their focus on what you're alluding to right now?
Well, that's what I'm going to try and do, with this conversation, is hopefully get people kind of, consider it. Because, okay, so let's take a step back. If you're getting started or you've been on this journey, the ideal situation is you never stop, right? So I think if you were to ask the average person who gets started with exercise and fitness and you say, okay, ideally speaking, in a perfect world, would you keep doing this forever or would you stop? And they'd say, well, I'd like to be able to do this forever. Okay, so if this is going to be something you're going to do for the rest of your life, which could be 30, 40, 50, 60 years or more, then essentially what you're doing is you have to develop a relationship with this activity where you're going to want to continue doing it for that long. And your best bet at doing that is to get a full understanding of what this will provide you. I think about the data on body acceptance and body satisfaction. When you look at the data on the average age that people can say that they feel most satisfied or they accept their body is in their 50s and 60s, right? 50s and 60s, like objectively speaking, just in terms of aesthetics, right? Like you don't look your best when you're in your 50s or 60s.
Nobody does.
Right? Yeah, people would think you're 20s, right? Or that would be when you look your best or whatever. And yet the data shows that that this is the highest odds of body acceptance is right around there. So what does that tell you? It has less to do with how you look. There's a lot more that goes into this. So, I could say right now with full confidence, and I think nobody would disagree, right? Exercise gives you more, if you do it right, gives you more energy, improves your mobility, improves your mood. The data shows it's very incredibly powerful antidepressant, anti-anxiety activity, balances out your hormones. And then through that, right, the filter through which you receive the world is more positive. So things don't seem as bad. Things seem more positive. You feel more resilient. But the problem is that we hyper focus on two aspects of the effects of exercise, which is like my weight and how I look, therefore ignoring all the others. And in the pursuit of those two, weight and appearance, we end up sacrificing all those other things. We end up moving in the wrong direction. And then we end up developing a relationship with exercise where we hate it. It doesn't work. I don't like this. It doesn't feel good. I'm not getting what I thought I would get. And so it's no wonder people stop. Now, if they took the scale, and I used to do this with clients, and when I can get them to agree to it, it was very powerful. It's like, take your scale, throw it away or hide it. Don't look in the mirror, or at least don't study yourself in the mirror. Let's do this for 60 days. Can you do this for 60 days? And at the end of 60 days, they were always shocked at the results they had gotten because they weren't focused so heavily on it. And what happens, because they're not weighing themselves, look in the mirror, you have no other, it would be like if I put a blindfold on you, how much more aware you would be of your hearing and of touch and of smells, because you're not able to focus on sight. So by not focusing on those, you're allowing yourself to be more aware of all the other potential benefits. Then when you develop that relationship with it, well, now it's this thing that you're going to always want to do because it improves everything.
Yeah, I was thinking about your question, Adam, because I think, thinking back, I've had clients that are a lot more mature than most, and then some that aren't, and it's usually like the younger clients that come in will have this kind of idea of what they want to do, and they're just going to do it regardless, and they're going to make mistakes, and it's just kind of part of the journey is they're going to make mistakes, and they're going to pursue things that might not be the most ideal, but then again, if you can propose something like, I just think that message probably isn't put out there enough for them to see as an option. Like let's really draw this out and look at it for what it is, to see, well, maybe this is actually going to last the longest. My body is going to get to that place I want it to, but it's just going to be a real gradual progression. And I'm going to be working with my body, and I'm not going to be like really, pushing it to this extreme that I had in my own ideas coming into this.
Yeah. No, I think that's a really good point. Like maybe my perception of it is because it's so attached to 20-year-old me.
Yeah.
And maybe if 40-year-old me was just now trying to get into shape for the first time in his life,
and you found a good trainer,
right? And maybe just the maturity of, and maybe because I can draw that to like money and other things, like so it's kind of like that journey. Like I get it. Like so,
I've learned this with other things.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And so maybe 40-year-old me would be able to do that. 20-year-old me, no way, right? Yeah. But so maybe you're right. It's less to do with like that you have to go through that journey per se, and more so that there is a emotional self-awareness maturity that you probably need to be at in order to to see that.
You know what the irony of this is when you do what we're saying, you'll end up looking better than had you not. So this is actually the path towards what you think you want. And then speaking on appearance, I was having this conversation earlier on a podcast, and it really became very clear to me. I'll use another example, kind of illustrate where I'm going to go. But if you consume fitness information, media, social media, and fitness information, you would get a very distorted idea of how effective supplements are, because the fitness industry is an industry and it's a market like all markets. So it's there to generate revenue. Supplements are a revenue generator. So a lot of the information that's put out there is to generate revenue from supplements. So a lot of information that's out there talks about supplements. You would get the idea, and a lot of people do, and I did as a kid, you read everything and you think supplements make much more of an impact than they actually do, because the information that's put out is constantly talking about supplements. Well, media also puts out and lies to you through this, that it says having a six-pack or looking super attractive or flawless is way more important to your happiness than it actually is. You think it's one of the most amazing things. Like, oh my God, if I just look like that person, I would be so happy. They have very good, clear data on this. And it's actually, Arthur Brooks told me this, I think on our podcast. He said, if you were on a scale of 1 to 10, you were a 5 in terms of attractiveness, and you spent money and time and effort and years moving from a 5 to a 9, your happiness would barely move up a little bit. Of all the things that will affect your happiness, he's like, that will barely. Now, having good health, much bigger impact. Having better mental health, much bigger impact. Relationships with the people around you, having meaningful work, not being in pain, those kinds of things, which exercise also provides. Yeah. But what we're doing is we're putting all the value on our appearance because we think the appearance is what's going to give us all these things, and it's totally distorted.
Yes,
it's a big lie.
You also risk that you get there and you recognize that you're not any happier, and then you have the attitude of like, oh, why even do this?
Yeah.
And then you throw it out the window completely. Like you're so obsessed with reaching this, goal, this vanity goal, and you get there, you realize you're not any happier than what you were before, and you put all that work, sacrifice it, and then you go like, oh, this is not even for me. And then you write it off completely. So I think it's so important that we teach our clients to attach it to all these other things, because you risk one, like you originally said, being so obsessed that it drives you into unhealthy things to reach it, or you actually reach it and then you realize, oh, how unfulfilled you are, or oh, it didn't make you any happier, and then you have the attitude of F it, why even do that?
You know, it's funny. I bet you, I don't know, there's no studies that I could pull from, but I would bet money that if you took the mental health of extreme physique owners, like super ripped, super buffed, whatever, like fanatic, crazy, orthorexic, whatever, like super obsessed fitness people, if you were to sample their mental health, it would probably be very similar to unhealthy, obese individuals. I bet you would find it would be very similar in terms of their mental health. But I mean, we know this. How many people do we know in our space that, you know, they post pictures and they look like whatever, and you meet them and you know them, you're like, oh man, they are struggling.
I mean, this is because they traded one addiction for another.
Yeah.
You have the both mentally unhealthy, same mentally unhealthy person, just one of them abused food.
In one way.
And then in one way, and then they went the other direction and abused it by restricting from it and over obsessing about movement and exercise.
Yeah.
I mean, I always think it's interesting too, because it's like, you always like to pull back and draw back to like evolution. And it's like, I don't think we evolved to work out in a gym 7 days a week. I don't think that was like I think that's something that we've adopted because technology and things have evolved, that we've actually lost movement. Like we don't work anymore. We don't do laborious jobs anymore. But where's the balance of that? Like, where is there like, yeah, we recognize the importance of our bodies moving and picking up heavy things and doing hard stuff. But then there's the other side of it. It's like when it becomes your life focus and you're obsessed with it. And it's like, so where is that?
Does it improve the quality of your life or take away from it? So what are the important things in life?
That's a hard one though, Sal, because the people that
they don't know.
Yeah, because a lot of people, and I know you've met people like this that, you know, physically are, you know, look amazing and they're in the gym 7 days a week would tell you that their life is much better. Because aspects of it probably is, right?
Yeah.
There's parts that they probably get complimented and feel confident, they're strong, they look better than they ever have. I mean, and they're probably sleeping better than they were before when they were, you know, fat and lazy. Like, so there's enough things that they can draw to where they would make the connection and saying that their life is.
Well, does it improve your relationships or does it take away from your relationships? Does it improve your mood or take away from your mood? Does it improve your ability to be productive? Take away? Does it make you a better husband or a worse husband, a better father or a worse father?
Yeah, are you well-rounded? Yeah. You know, there's a lot of things. Are you easy to hang out with?
Yeah, like, you know.
I don't know. It's sometimes people can get in this like hyper obsessed, which is fine. Like we all have hobbies and we all have like interests and things that we really pour ourselves into. You just have to kind of check yourself on some level of like it's your entire world. I
mean, I guess I operate from that same place of, my goal is to do as little as possible to elicit the most amount of change. And so my philosophy as I've gotten older is Am I doing more than I need to? I don't want to work out hardly at all. As little as I can to obtain being strong, being fit and mobile, being capable.
So you could do all the other stuff.
So I could do all the other things.
Yeah, I know.
And that's it. Like I just like what's the least amount I got to go to this building and pick up these weird shaped weights. And it's literally so I could go do all the other things. So I could get down and play with my son and not get tired. So I could carry things for my wife when we need to go somewhere. So I can protect my family if we were to be attacked. So I could go do sports and activities that I love to do. So whatever the amount of time I got to spend in that gym,
that's great.
I want to spend as little as possible.
Filling your cup up so that way you can
to do all that other shit.
Somebody else.
Yeah. Any more than that is what? To feed my ego?
Yep.
Yeah.
Just so I can say I'm stronger than that guy, some other guy that's obsessed. Like, it's like, other than that, it's like, so to me, it's like, I'm always measuring that and going, okay, like,
totally.
What more can I apply so I get more out of these other things? When it becomes the cornerstone of your life, I think you're out of balance.
There's an evaluation that needs to happen.